So,
What's up, docs? Welcome. All you hunters out there in cyberspace.
it's live. It's happening.
I guess it is. All right. Well, I guess we might as well start. I see that there Ben Olsen is in the house, so he's gonna come in just a second. I guess. Wow. You know what? I didn't even notice that I duck now. Right over my shoulder and very appreciate. If there are two of us here, what do you think, Eric? What do you think Daffy would actually say if there were two of him?
He'd say, well, first of all, two is never enough. There can't be enough Daffy. I say 4, 5, 6 Daffys. Now that's a lot. That's a lot of Windex on your computer screen, and lots of COVID-19 masks. So,
I mean, Daffy, who knows what he'd say?
I tell you what, now that you brought that up, because people are still filtering in, so you were talking about filtered and unfiltered and whatnot. Eric, I was trying to get this to you before, but
yes.
Oh no, what is that?
Duck mask.
No way.
Yeah, no, this is like my denouement of Inception. So we might as well start there as people are still filtering in, and we're on Facebook, so that you can see. And I can't really adjust it until I get it down all the way.
Oh, that's perfect.
And I can cut ears into here, so I can be Daffy Duck if I only talk like Daffy Duck.
Well, here's the thing. You see, with the magic of video, it looks like you're Daffy. You're more Daffy than me.
Look at that. I got 3 in me now. So anyway, I'll send you one of these, not the one that I'm using now, but yeah, it can be used for skiing as well, which is the greatest deal.
I cannot wait to rob a bank with that.
Yeah.
Give me all your money. 50s and 100s.
So, now that we've got more and more people coming in, I wanted to welcome everybody, and especially our first time doing our own Facebook live stream on one of these as well. So now we've got 22 people in the house. Plus I've got 2,000 people, I figure, out on Facebook. That's my assumption. I'm not looking. But I'm just, oh, wait, 2,200, 2,300, 20. I mean, Daffy Duck is here, Bugs Bunny is here. All of the characters that you guys recognize are sitting in the house with us. And, Eric, Eric Goldberg from way back. And, he's probably the biggest aficionado of the Looney Tunes that I know, and certainly knows the animation. Does many of the voices himself, did a few things on Looney Tunes Back in Action, but they wouldn't let him do Bugs Bunny. As he said, they figured that it would give him too much power to allow him to do that voice, because that seems like it's the one that they hold back, and yet you have it all. You are now the voice of all of the characters pretty much going on in the Looney Tunes world. And just in the short time that I've known you, you do them very well. So I'll give you a little round of applause to start with.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And may I say, Eric Goldberg is a one-man termite terrace.
Yes.
He can do it all, and he's amazing. I'm also good buddies with his daughter, Jenny Goldberg, who is in animation and is just as talented, if not even more talented than her pops.
There. So welcome everybody to the Eric Bauza studio on the Creativeside chat. I think it's our 9th Creativeside chat, and there's many, many more to come. We're booking, I think, all the way into the next year. I'm going to have to get more COVID masks because, we got more and more people coming in. But Eric, it's great to have you here in the studio with us, and I guess us being in your studio. And your studio is different than anybody that we've gone to before, because everybody else has smelly paints and.
Well, my studio, I've changed up the smelly paints from paints to smelly socks, because I record now because of the lockdown in my I call it the Christopher walk-in closet. Yeah, so basically all of the cartoon T-shirts that I own now act as soundproofing.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing. I mean, you overcame the hurdles and figured out a way to record your voices. Is that a little difficult? You know, when you either do you have a mirror in there to make the faces properly or anything like that?
Well, actually, to cut down on bandwidth, I actually turn the camera off so that whoever's on the receiving end can only hear me. Plus, it's the most unflattering camera angle because I have my laptop propped up on my music stand. And then, we record with, I have a Rode microphone with a pop filter, headphones that are similar to this. And, it's almost as if we are recording together, when we do ensemble casts. There's another show that I'm on, Muppet Babies, and we have about like 5 people on the line, and we're all recording just like we were before the pandemic and before the lockdown. But I do miss being in a room having that chemistry with other voice actors, especially on something like Looney Tunes cartoons.
So let's rewind a little bit. You're a Canadian, I understand, and was born in that Canadian thing.
Yes, the Toronto Raptors.
If LeBron were to see this, he'd kill me. It's not a Lakers hat.
There you go.
Yeah.
But you came up through schooling up there, and how did you dive into what you're doing now? I mean, kind of a circuitous way.
It's very strange, and I'm sure almost every voiceover artist will tell you the same story. It's like you start out in one direction thinking that you're going to do this one thing, and you end up doing this, and it's so strange because I never went to school for theatrical acting. I was never like a thespian. I went to school for radio, television, and film broadcasting in Toronto, Ontario. So, I mean, technically, if you were to drive up to a radio station and drop me off, I could edit, like the songs down to a different format or a different length. I could cut commercials in. I could do the traffic, live at 5, the drive home from Sherman Oaks to Burbank. I could do all that stuff. And I never once thought I would be doing
The voice of Bugs Bunny, Doc. Like, the fact that I could say, "What's up, Doc?" and get a paycheck for it is unbelievable.
It's the years of watching animation, the training. I've burned through many couches, sitting and watching these Looney Tunes episodes, the classics.
When did you start watching the classic Looney Tunes?
I mean, man, as old enough as I can remember, really getting into it in the 80s. That's when the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show was on in syndication, and all those shorts, the shorts that they had, all the Chuck Jones classics like
Wabbit season, duck season. Wabbit season, duck season.
all those shorts and all the Marvin the Martians that Chuck did. That's what I grew up watching. I remember a few days ago we talked about Hillbilly Hair being one of those go-to shorts, promenade across the floor, sashay right on out that door. That was like me and my brother watched that, and we would crack up every time. Still one of my favorites.
I tell you, that is, in my opinion, I think that's probably the greatest Bob McKimson film of all time. And that Bob was an animator for other guys for a long time, and when he finally got into that, I think there was something because he had the brothers, both Charles and now I'm blanking on the other brother, but Joel will tell me what it is. But that they were always around, and I think it was sort of a although there was different families in that film, it was about their struggles back and forth and their battles. But I love the song. Now, were you a singer? I mean, because I know that they're.
I am. If there's anything that as far as Mel Blanc is concerned, we could talk about him and how well-rounded he was as a performer, and he was an amazing singer. Me, I'm not. I mean, you could talk to some composers that I work with. They make me sound like I can sing. I don't know. Maybe in character. you know, it's really something to sing, to be able to sing, but to sing in character.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where I can kind of like sneak in through the back door.
Now,
You won't
curious.
really catch me at the karaoke bar, but you know,
How do? Welcome to my shop. Let me cut you up. Let me shave your crop. Daintily.
like that. Those are the songs that I know how to sing.
There you go. So continue. You started watching them. So that was probably in your what teens that you.
Preteen. In fact, before the internet, I would order through the mail animation gallery catalogs, and they would be about the size of a TV guide, like that big. Uh, of course, because they didn't want the images that they sold to be like that big that they could be replicated. So, you would actually have to buy the cell. Like it was like really, really small images, but it was enough for me to like look at and kind of copy the drawings because before voiceover, I started out in animation as a character layout artist. So, and even then, I feel like that is something that is not even available anymore. Character layout is a luxury position for I think some animation studios. Now they have storyboard artists really drawing the heck out of the story, the posing. So there really is no second guessing when a storyboard gets shipped overseas
Right.
to an animation studio.
Little
Um,
Yes, these days. I mean, well, let's get through your history first because it's a vast history. What was it, 2000? So what kind of projects were you working on as character designer? And was this up in Canada?
There was some stuff in Canada, co-productions between Cambium and another studio, Spumco. They created the original Ren and Stimpy, and it's the people that I met at that studio. Matt Danner, Gabe Swar, Ray Morelli, Katie Rice, Nick Cross, Christy Gordon. These are all people you should Google, and you will marvel at their skills as far as and to see where they are now. Like we were all kind of doing, like I was a production assistant, even I was tacking up thumbnail storyboard panels. I was scanning them in. I was making animatics. I was editing sound effects and music cues, all in Final Cut Pro. And then Scratch Dialogue was kind of like how I kind of got experience, and one of the first animation gurus that I ended up becoming really good friends with, Jorge Gutierrez. Him and his wife Sandra Ikiwa, they created a show in 2007 called El Tigre: The Adventures of Manny Rivera, and that was on Nickelodeon. And it was one of those situations where I did the voice as a favor, and they just fell in love with this performance. It was this Mexican wrestling dad by the name of White Pantera, Rodolfo Rivera. And he was very much like Ricardo Montalban, Tattoo, please take these guests' luggage to their rooms on Fantasy Island. So that's the voice that I ended up doing, rich Corinthian leather. Nickelodeon, they tried. They're like, who is this guy? Why don't we'll just get Tom Kenny to do it. We'll get Billy West, we'll get one of the go-tos. But they just really fought for me, Jorge and Sandra. And they kept me on board, and because of them, I got to work with one of the great voice directors of our time, Andrea Romano. She was most notably known for, of course, Tiny Toons Adventures, Freakazoid, Batman the Animated Series, and of course, Animaniacs in the 90s. Almost everything I needed to learn for a voiceover, I learned from her directing some of the great living legends of animation in the 90s.
Was that in the sound studio at Nickelodeon down in Burbank?
That's correct. So I was actually also working part-time. I thought, well, wow, I'm on one animated show. That's all I need. I can retire now, And then, that show ended up getting canceled not too long after I said that into the ether. But while I was working on the show, I was also working at another studio by the name of 6 Point Harness. And they were one of the overseas studios, even though it was in Hollywood, they would animate episodes of El Tigre. So I would be at Nickelodeon. I would do the voice acting and then drive back to my desk on my Cintiq, and I would draw the scenes that I just voice acted.
That's all. So when did you start drawing to be able to develop that
Oh
skill?
boy. I mean, I wish I could show you drawings from like grade school, but there would be literally notebooks and textbooks that I would draw in, and probably when I was supposed to be paying attention to the teacher, I would be drawing pictures of Bugs Bunny, Wile E. Coyote, Roadrunner. Like those were my favorites. Like the Looney Tunes were always, and Hanna-Barbera as well. Like the Flintstones, Jetsons, of course, Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound, like that. The really thick lines that Ed Benedict, was most famous for. Like I just fell in love with that style, and you think that I was a nerd now. You should see before graphic T-shirts were popular, I was the kid that was always wearing the Flintstones hoodie, or you're gonna laugh at this, like you're gonna freak out. Hold on one second.
I just wonder where he's going. That's always, look at this. I know that the wall is probably going to.
This was an original garment that I still have from one of my very first visits to California. It is an original Six Flags Magic Mountain Bugs Bunny shirt.
Nice.
This has to be from, I don't know, let's see, 1991.
Look at that.
And
wow, Doc, boy, did they really predict the future.
buy clothes from Six Flags and you will turn into your favorite characters. I wore on like a photo day at school, and kids were like, "Why are you wearing your pajamas to school?" I'm like, "No, this is a real shirt. This is an actual dress shirt." And like an all-over print graphic T-shirt of Bugs Bunny. I still have it, and it just goes to show like how much of a devoted fan and a purist I am of these characters.
That is so cool. Well, I tell you, there's you mentioned Hillbilly Hair.
Yes.
Scott, do you have that image that we talked about? Because I asked when you mentioned Hillbilly Hair the other day to see whether or not there was anything. I think there was one image that was created years. There it is. I don't know if you can see it in front of you. Yeah,
I can.
That by it was Robert. Yeah, Joel reminded me that it was Tom was the other brother out there, but I met the McKimsons a number, especially the son, but kind of grew up with those guys. But that one was just an awesome thing. So anyway,
it's a nonstop ride from beginning to finish, and I cannot tell you like how much fun, like when the Sour Belly Trio come up from the jukebox, like that is the most absurd. The fact that there's a band inside of a machine, like right away. And I mean, I would love to own an actual production cell from that show. I mean, I'm sure they're almost near impossible to find, but even that cell that was created, is that something that's up for grabs right now at the gallery?
That's a signed McKimson cell. So stay away from your computer for a second. Let somebody else get that. I know about you.
Oh, trust me. I'm about to show you some more cells that I have here, as we continue.
Got to know that there actually is a short clip that we did. Scott, you want to roll a quick little clip? Because you know what? Hearing the sound of Mel's voice and the singing and all that stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Just brings you back.
Take a second and see what we've got. Hey, look, there's your name right there. I don't hear any sound, but we're going to get there. Okay, we've got the animation.
Let's see.
Scott's currently going, wait a minute, what's going on? I got to get some sound here.
Oh.
I think this would be a great spot for Eric to dub over his own lines.
Places y'all, bow to your corner, bow to your own. Now 3 hands up and round you go, break it up with the do-si-do. Chicken in the bread pan, kicking it dough, skip to Baloo, my darling. The old lady out, you pretty little thing, promenade around the ring. Big foot up and an elbow swing, skip to Baloo, my darling. Lady step back and 2 gents in, back you go and forward again. Step right up with an elbow swing, skip to Baloo, my darling. All the men left with the old left hand, follow through with the right left grand. Meet your honey with a great big smile, promenade Indian style. And
With the
then
right
here comes
left hand.
Bugs.
Meet your honey with a great big smile. Promenade Indian style.
Promenade across the floor, sashay right out the door, and into the glade, and everybody promenade. Step right up, you're doing fine. I'll pull your bill, you pull mine. Yank it again like you did before. Break it up with the tug of war. Now,
Yeah, man, Mel Blanc. I love it. There it is.
Now into the brook and fish for the trout. Dive right in and splash about. Trout, trout, pretty little trout. One more splash and come right out. Shake like a hound dog, shake again. Wallow around in the old big pen. Oh, wallow some more, you'll know how. Roll around like an old fat sow. Element left with your left hand. Follow through with the right and left grand. Now leave your partner the dirty old thing. Follow through with an elbow swing. Grab a
grab a fence post, hold it tight. Whop your partner with all your might. Hit him in the chin, hit him in the head. Hit him again, that critter ain't dead.
I mean, I'm gonna go to a karaoke bar after this and sing that song, I'm sure.
That is pretty fun. Wow, that's impressive. And I mean, I know that cartoon, but obviously being your favorite, you know, that's. Are there any other favorites that Looney Tunes stuff? Maybe Chuck stuff?
Oh yeah, I mean, right now, oh, thank you, Jonathan. As I study and continue to study, because I don't think. I mean, there is a lifespan of work that Mel and the rest of the gang, Arthur Q. Bryant, you know, June Foray, everyone that worked on that show, and those original shorts left behind. It's hard for me to pick which one to study, because I have them all on Blu-ray, I have them all on DVD, I have Boomerang, now I have HBO Max. I could watch almost any short at any given time. But one of the ones that my son and I keep going back to, of course, is Rabbit of Seville. And I mean, that's even one that doesn't have many words. It's usually just like action and amazing score, music score. I mean, they do sing, but Rabbit of Seville is definitely one of like the top ones that my son and I, he's 4 years old, we crack up watching every time. And it's usually about the time when Bugs Bunny hops up on Elmer's head and starts massaging the hair tonic into his scalp. Poor Elmer, you know, I mean.
It's not enough that I have a speech impediment, but wow, I would really love to grow my hair back.
You know.
I will say that that when anybody has asked over the years whether or not, well, first of all, it's Chuck favorite because it was like children, but you know, people ask me a favorite cartoon. Rabbit of Seville is always the first one out of my mouth.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
It's just one of those ones. It's like, man, they just really nailed it, and it was funny because going back to the very last Comic-Con that I was in San Diego at the Chuck Jones Art Gallery, I had a chance to meet Mr. Willie Ito.
Oh yeah.
And he was talking about being on Chuck's unit and working on such grand shorts like that. Like he was talking about how much time he knew that the crew had, and I think they really did try to cram more into less time than the other crews did to work on their other shorts. And I'm sure if you search YouTube, you'll see his great talk to the folks of the Chuck Jones Art Gallery in San Diego. But it was very interesting to hear how all the crews would come together, show off what each crew would be doing. But because, you know, it's like you're working on something so much, you may not appreciate or laugh at something that you just see with fresh eyes. So I think he was talking about watching a McKimson short, laughing, and then looking over at Chuck, and Chuck would be like arms crossed, like, why are you laughing at his and not at ours? You know, like, you know, and it's because he was so immersed in the Chuck Jones unit, and then seeing something brand new really got him. But yeah, do you guys have a clip for Rabbit of Seville?
Clip.
Right.
And so let's go ahead and roll that, Scott. Look at this. there's something so good about that look on his face. And your the music. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, Figaro fertilizer.
Next.
That's so good.
Can't you see that I'm much sweeter? I'm your little senorita.
I mean, that's all that stuff that Mel Blanc and Arthur Q. Bryant put into that short is just simply amazing. And I'm really bummed that this year for Bugs' 80th, we are not able to celebrate at the Hollywood Bowl. As you know, they've pretty much canceled every show until the new year 2021. But
Yeah.
hopefully they will go all out next year for his 81st birthday, and hopefully we'll be able to celebrate then.
So how many times have you seen Bugs Bunny at the Symphony or Bugs Bunny on Broadway?
I've seen it twice.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
It never gets old. They continue to evolve it. George Doherty was the founder and still the conductor of it all, and started out of Chicago and then ended up coming out to Los Angeles. And I remember Chuck was there that first performance, and we got invited. So one of those special moments, seeing Chuck see it in that grand fashion. I mean, obviously, most of the people, well, many people remember it on the big screen, but you don't get a chance to see it on the big screen very often anymore. So, unless you get a projector in your home, because I know you've got that 6,000 inch projector, don't you?
No, I have the quite the opposite. You'd think by now. I think I just bought one off of like some random like site, and it plugs into your phone, so maybe I can watch it on the ceiling, but or like about the size of a big screen TV. But I wish I had a home theater. Are you kidding me?
That'll be next. I mean, the way that the Looney Tunes are coming back, and you're a big part of it. I got to say, Sam Register on each other before he was since before he was president. Way back when. With us now. Hey, Ben.
Hey, I've been on the whole time. I just didn't want you to see my glowing face in the sun as I'm in the car.
No,
It's golden hour lighting. You're good.
Yes. Do you like how it accentuates the cheekbones?
It's natural.
traveling today, but everybody who doesn't know Ben, he's our co-host always on these Creativeside chats, and he's the founder of the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity Chicagoland. And so he and the family are probably headed for spectacular. Maybe I don't know. It's a Thursday, so probably down.
So, well, funny enough, Bugs' 80th, right? In what would have been this Saturday, had it not been for what's currently going on, Craig would have been out here, and we would have been doing Bugs' 80th for the Chuck Jones Big Baseball Draw.
Oh, you're kidding me. That's what's happening right now. Is that what you're heading to right now, or this
Well,
weekend?
I'm heading to the baseball stadium right now, where we've done 2 big draws. They've been fantastic. We've done Marvin and Daffy Duck, and this time would have been, we had custom Bugs 80th jerseys with 5 films So I had
Oh.
Baton Bunny, I had Rabbit Fire, I had all on this jersey design that needed to be approved by Warner Brothers.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, and so we were gonna blow this thing out, and unfortunately, there's no. Hold on, dude, you can't say hi, Dad. He's on TV right now. So it would have been Craig would have been here coming in 2 days, and we would have been doing the setup. So yes,
So
that's where Ben is traveling.
one of these times when we, because Ben has now this would have been two basketball big draws with the G League NBA teams, and one out in New York and one in Chicago.
Very
And
cool.
as that evolves, eventually we're going to get back into it as they get back into it. We'll have you out and be a guest at one of the baseball or basketball big draws, and you can entertain 5,000 or 10,000 people in person. Maybe you can throw out that first pitch. Can you? I can.
Well, I definitely am a huge sports fan, and
What with Space Jam New Legacy coming out, I would definitely love to call some plays, some play-by-play stuff. And that's right, but wear a mask, Daffy. Again, in the middle of a pandemic.
No doubt.
Listen, Rabbit, we've had enough of you.
What? So what other characters you do? Obviously, Bugs and Daffy. They're sort of the premier characters. What other of the Looney Tunes characters are some of your favorites?
well, Marvin the Martian. Ever since that, revival in the '90s of the Hair Jordan commercials came out, Marvin was always like one of the most interesting and maybe featured the least in the original run of these Merry Melodies and Looney Tunes shorts. He was what, in like 4 or 5 shorts max, and Pete Puma's the same thing.
Yeah, not many.
Not many, but there was something weird.
Well, first of all, Marvin sounded like this. He was a little bit more nebbish. I do enjoy your planet, but it blocks my view of Venus.
Yes, but then somehow he evolved into something like this. And I've had the luck of voicing Marvin the Martian for about 10 years now, Earth creature.
And of course, oh, sorry, go ahead.
First do Marvin, and what did you do it for? I didn't know it was that far back.
The very, very first time I did Marvin was for the Looney Tunes show. So he was like, it was a weird pairing of him, Pete Puma, and Daffy Duck being old high school friends. And, they were considered kind of like the losers. And it was just very interesting. I think they originally thought that Marvin would be a foreign exchange student. He kind of had braces, like headgear going into nothing, because he doesn't even have a mouth, and it was very cool. I owe Tony Cervone, who directed Scoob. He was at the helm at that point, as well as Matt Danner was still working on the show. One of my close friends, and they really gave me a shot at entering the Looney Tunes universe as, I think, one of the most favorite characters of the Looney Tunes of all time, Marvin the Martian.
That's pretty cool. What other, you do Pete Puma? I take it. You do.
I do not do him in this in the new run, but he will be appearing. But yeah, he was one of my, one lump or two. He was like, of course. Again, I think 1 or 2 shorts for him. He may be in the least amount, aside from the dodo, of course. Woo! I will be voicing the dodo in Looney Tunes cartoons.
Has there been any revival or in the with Michigan J. Frog and the new things? I haven't seen them yet. I mean,
that would be a really good addition. It would be another really good nod to Chuck as well. If I had my way, I would probably cast someone like Josh Groban to do the voice of Michigan J. Frog. Someone that can actually hold a note.
yeah. Well, it was Oh boy, I just a fleeting moment. My aging brain was Jeff. Jeff, I got Jeff, but he was the Beast on Broadway, and he actually voiced Michigan J. Frog again when they did the only sequel, which was
Another Froggy Evening.
in 1995, I think it was, and he also did all the stuff for the WB, which and it was interesting that the CEO of Time Warner actually personally called Chuck one day when we were at the office. I mean, I just started with a company in the early 90s, and called the office, and he wanted to talk to Chuck, and of course everybody's like, well, okay. And he said, the Michigan J. Frog character is probably the greatest Looney Tunes character ever, because it was in a solo film, and yet everybody knows it. Mm-hmm. And although we own it, Chuck, I want your blessing to have it become our new spokesperson. And, well, that's fine, but he can't be a spokesperson. He has to be a spokespibian. So
He's definitely up there with Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, very much so. That memorable thing, but never shall he talk without singing. That was sort of the rule that they had from the very get-go. So, what other Looney Tunes characters are some of your favorites?
I mean, oh boy, there's just, I mean, I say Foghorn Leghorn, son. That was a joke, you see. See that house over there that says D-O-G? That spells chicken boy. Now go get him. I mean, Foghorn is just, my sides hurt after watching a Foghorn Leghorn short. I said Pete Puma, Marvin the Martian.
Ooh, I thought I saw Pootie Tag. Ooh, Tweety Bud. He's only 3.5 years old.
He's another character that I'm currently voicing for Looney Tunes cartoons, and he's amazing. And I get to voice Tweety alongside Jeff Bergman, one of the original follow-ups to Mel Blanc way back in 1989. And I always say vocal cord for vocal cord. He's probably the best voice mimic in the game, and to take on the mantle of Mel Blanc. So it is like a free tuition-free college every time I get to sit down in a booth with him or Bob Bergen, who voices Porky, and I voice Daffy opposite him. It's kind of amazing to know, like, these guys actually got to meet Mel Blanc, and when I first voiced Daffy, Bob leaned over and was like, "You're pretty much probably one of the best Daffys I've worked with," and I take it because he's worked with all the Daffys. He said, he goes, "You're probably one of the best Daffys since Mel Blanc," and I really took that as a very high compliment. And again, these guys, they don't have to say anything, and anytime they're gracious enough to spend time and compliment, and I'm just like pinching myself like it's a dream.
So I tell you, there are some images that the team has put together that I'd like to flash up with us here. And, whether you do a voice or a memory or something, or just say, you know what, I don't like that one, that's fine. But Scott, if you just randomly, some of the things that were shared, I would love.
Yes, Pepe le Pew. I am here to chase the cat. Yes, it really rings into my French Canadian heritage. No, Mel was.
There he is. Monsters lead such interesting lives. Let me see those hands. Ooh.
And of course we just did the hillbilly hair bit. Again, one of my favorites. They actually we had at the Grammy Museum. They had Warner Brothers marketing did an amazing job putting in art installation pieces at the Grammy Museum, and I forgot the name of the sculptor or the artist that recreated that horse, but they made a life-size version of that horse that you could actually sit on and take pictures with.
Oh,
You know, I didn't have the Viking helmet with the blonde hair, but I definitely stole a couple snapshots of that horse.
we have one of those, by the way. I'll get you one of those as well. So they got to have,
Very cool.
and
So,
obviously, dial.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
anytime I saw Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote, they were, you know, another classic team up of characters that never even spoke really until, you know, maybe he did speak. Wile E. Coyote, super genius. Um, but yeah, oh, that's another great one. Whoa! I said whoa! Anytime he rides on a dragon or a camel, poor Yosemite Sam gets the worst of it.
so that brings up a question, if I could, even though
Ben.
I'm all over the place. And you mentioned Mel Blanc when we had talked earlier, and his ability to change and do these inflections, and you kind of did that now. What when you were studying him, kind of impressed, like, man, I want to nail that.
Just the absolute sheer power of his voice, you know, like the energy that he puts into these characters. And I'm talking about, like, you know, of course we hear Yosemite Sam, you know, being voiced currently by Fred Tatasciore, formerly voiced by Maurice LaMarche, as well as the great Joe Alasky, rest in peace. He was probably one of the only voice actors who could say he did a Mel Blanc voice while Mel was still alive. He was the one that did Yosemite Sam going, "My biscuits are burning," and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. When Mel watched it, he was like, "Oh wow, yeah, they got me doing Yosemite." Like he didn't even realize it was Joe Alasky from, as the legend is told. But you know, hearing him do someone like Yosemite Sam, Mel Blanc create a voice like Yosemite Sam, and then, you know, do a voice like Marvin the Martian.
And then do a voice like Bugs, you know.
Having that many different levels of, like, you're going from like calm and neutral to, like, you know, just a step above that, and then like full cylinders. It's amazing to know that that all came from one person. And I think only in my later years I was intrigued by the fact that it was done by a single person. Much like how when we watch The Simpsons, it's done by like three guys, you know, and Yeardley Smith and Nancy Cartwright. It's amazing to hear and see like a cartoon starring Mel Blanc, knowing that he, again, talking to himself, you know, like, yeah, when he's Barnyard Dog, like, oh boy, that chicken, I'm gonna get him. And I see Charlie Dog there. Wow, I gotta get him with the old puppy dog eyes routine. There it is, there it is, there it is. You know, like that's, again, maybe the closest to like a Mel Blanc voice that is just his own voice.
Go back to that, Scott. I got to tell you, I'm the 50% pointer and 50%. I've got all the drawings. Chuck did a limited edition, and I've got them in my house.
No way.
Yeah, Charlie Dog. He's one of my favorite characters that no one really remembers.
You know, he's got such gusto. You know, like, and that was all Mel, like that, you know, 100% Mel. And
So good. Okay,
it's just amazing what he's been able to do with you know, his pipes.
that is from the original cartoon. That's from the original. I'm just nutty that yeah, they put together some really ridiculous things there. So
Are these all images from the gallery, like stuff that?
yeah, they put these together. I don't know where they stole them from, but they put them together. There's something about Yop that
Yeah.
it's one of those great cartoons. Again, one-offs that Chuck talked about. It just came up with like Mike Maltese, and it's like, what if? And
Yeah.
go. And so I think that's the greatest thing. And him talking about someone like Mel or someone like June, that the communication between the director and the actor, as far as that obviously Chuck wouldn't and couldn't do the voices, and he created the voices, he created the personalities.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to communicate the characteristics, of the characters, and then have such talented actors be able to say, here's what I'm thinking, and then though the duality of it, figuring it all out, and then it does evolve over time. But
Oh yeah, and that still remains true to today because even though I get scripts and storyboards ahead of time, aside from actually fine tuning and warming up my voice to either
today we're gonna do a Bugs Bunny short? All right, Doc, let's do that one first. Cause, Daffy, the way I'm acting as Daffy, he's on all cylinders,
so we'll do a bug short first and then a Daffy, but I never really look at anything until I'm actually behind the mic, because any preparation that I do definitely helps, but it could be tossed out the window as soon as the director steps in. Ryan Kramer, David Gemmell, Kenny. We got a lot of amazing, talented directors on Looney Tunes cartoons, and the voice director Jack Fletcher, with Pete Browngardt, Alex Kerwan, kind of listening in, making sure it's kind of like there, as Johnny Ryan, who's there to kind of like do some ad libs, like all the input that goes in and all the prep work that you could do is usually, it can be used or can't be. But I'm also, again, relying on the amazing work that Mel Blanc left behind, that if the writers are trying to get to a certain joke or a callback to a joke that we're paying homage to, I have to be responsible and know exactly what they're talking about. Like, oh, it's from that episode? Okay, great. I did watch that, or I know that one like the back of my hand. So it's a combination. It's quite the blender of creativity.
So you were before talking about Porky Pig, and obviously Porky was one of the very earliest characters that was supposed to be the star and sort of became a sidekick over the time. And do you do Porky now?
I don't. It's still Bob, at least for Looney Tunes cartoons. Bob Bergen is once again reprising his role as Porky. But I mean, there's that, in studying Mel Blanc voices, there's a very, famous clip on YouTube that anyone can watch, and it's him talking to David Letterman on how he came up, with the voice of Porky Pig. The Warner Brothers told me to come up with this a stuttering pig. Like if a pig could talk, how would he sound? So I went out to the countryside and I wallowed in the mud with a bunch of pigs. I came back and they said, go home and take a shower. So I did that. And when I came back, I said, if a pig could talk, he'd talk with a grunt. He'd oink, 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 oink.
That's all, folks.
Like that's the famous story that he tells on Letterman. And it's the funniest, weirdest story. I wonder if that is true. It makes me laugh every time I watch it. But it is definitely like an interesting, like, oh, maybe I should go wallow in the mud with the pigs.
To try to get a Porky Pig.
I think it's a hard voice to do.
People would ask, about the stuttering, and Chuck, I saw him many times answer the question. He said, first of all, Porky doesn't stutter. He stammers.
He stammers, yeah.
Friends, that a stutter can't get the word out, whereas the stammerer can't get the right word and then ends up changing it. And that's what Porky does all the time. So he stammers, he doesn't stutter, but the speech impediment that many of the characters have. But he said, the thing about Porky is, other than maybe once or twice throughout the history of 30 years, he was always the hero. He was always the smart one. He was always the one that was taking care of Daffy, or the one that was, winning. And he was always seemed to be behind the scenes sidekick, either the comic relief or just the guy who never lost. And so,
right.
With that in mind, he said, whether he stammers or not, he overcomes, and he's always the hero. So,
yeah.
I got some extra money. I'm gonna buy a pre-owned automobile.
It's that where he can't say the simple thing, but he says the most complicated thing with ease, without the stammer.
So really, so I might as well. I mean, I've got 9 minutes left. I'm getting blinkered on my side.
Yep.
maybe some questions. Would you be open for some questions?
Absolutely. I would love to answer any questions that anyone watching or anyone has written ahead of time. I would love to answer your questions.
Now everybody gets quiet. I don't really understand what.
So
I-
can I start it off?
Sure.
I'm going to leave my video off. So if you go through your history in which I did on IMDb, you've got 234 some odd listings as a voice actor, which is phenomenal.
Thank you.
And yeah, and I go back, and you and I were born in the same year, and
79.
so 79, man. I was June of December, and so kind of growing up in that same era, you've been some legendary voices of cartoons that we grew up with, like Gizmo Duck.
Blather and Blatherskite. Yes.
Oh.
The great Hamilton Camp, rest in peace, created this amazing character that was half duck, it was like RoboCop with
Yes.
Daffy Duck's bill or Donald Duck's bill. And that was
Which was-
for
Go ahead.
DuckTales Remastered. The
Yes.
people at Way Forward, they did an amazing reissuing of that game, and it looked not like a video game. It just looked like some old school Disney animators, drew over the old Nintendo game, and it looked like an actual moving episode of the original DuckTales. But it was one of those surreal moments, and I mean, God bless him, rest in peace. Like June Foray was still alive, Alan Young was still alive, and the most surreal part was when the production was done. They're like, "Oh, you did an amazing job, thank you. Can you sign the script page, like the cover page?" And I'm looking at all the names of all the original cast of DuckTales on here, and I was like, "Are you sure you don't want me to just sign a Post-it note that you can take it off and take it off, put it on and put it on again?" I didn't want to deface the script, and they're like, "Oh no, you're part of the cast." So,
Which is awesome. So that actually brings me in and ties in this roundabout into June Foray. So we'll get back to the fact that you are the legendary Luke Skywalker in all of the Lego Star Wars stuff, which I think is, I geek out and nerd on that right now. But to go from DuckTales and Gizmo Duck and you into the Looney Tunes, right? And June Foray being a legendary voice actor and in so many of the films, what was your, I love the story, so everybody should hear it. Your
Yes.
first introduction to June Foray is not like a normal, "Hey, how are you? Nice to meet you." Would you mind saying that?
It is one of my favorite stories. I have that one and a George Takei story that I would like to tell. But June was amazing because, I had finished a Looney Tunes show session as Marvin. We wrapped early, but I saw on the call sheet that June Foray was supposed to come in and record as Granny. And I politely asked, would I be able to stay and watch her do her session? And they're like, of course. So of course in comes her assistant, and I see that they're already lowering the microphone for her because she comes in and she's about that big. I thought I was short, and here comes June, and she's even smaller than me. I think she was actually the size of Smurfette, another character that she voiced. But she came in, and I gave her a big handshake and hello. I thanked her for all of the decades and a lifetime of work that she did, which influenced me to become a voiceover artist. And I asked her, I said, "June, is it okay if I watch you record?" She said,
Oh, of course you can, sweetie. But before you do, could you please cut me a piece of pecan pie?
because there's a table of snacks, and she wanted a slice of pecan pie. So I was like, anything for you, June. I will even pre-chew it for you and feed it to you like a mama bird. No, I would never do that. But man, oh man, it was like insane to see her perform Granny. And she's no longer with us, and it's one of those things that I will always remember, and a story that I will always tell. So thank you for reminding me of that one.
Yeah, well, and yeah, I loved hearing it. So when we were on the call and you were going through some stuff, and I'm like, man, talk about a nonchalant introduction to a legend. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've got a question, and I'd love to hear the George Takei story because I haven't heard that, but I would like to know this. So we've got the new Looney Tunes on HBO Max, right? And you're doing all the big dogs when you got to it, and we're now changing things up a little bit. How do you feel about the omission of guns from the new cartoons? What's your feeling on that?
You know, it was definitely a decision that was made without any of my input. I think the voiceover artists are usually last to be alerted. And even during press, you know, when the showrunner Pete Browngardt was talking about it, you know, it kind of just slipped through the cracks. And I honestly think it's a funny thing because the show had been on for a couple weeks and no one really noticed. You know, I think that's why it's a funny story to me, because again, we were already we were the #1 show. News outlets have been reporting, and it's still a known fact that Looney Tunes cartoons was the most watched show and most looked for and searched program on HBO Max, above you know, reruns of The Soprano and reruns of Friends and reruns of Game of Thrones. We were the #1 show that was watched, and I think that's amazing and an honor. So thank you, first of all, to all the fans out there that did tune in. And as far as my feelings are concerned, you know, I go either way. I just feel like, you know, if you like the classics, they're there in all their glory, untempered. And if you like just something new that pays homage and does its own thing, there's Looney Tunes cartoons. You know, I'm a father of a 4-year-old boy myself, and of course you want to expose them to the least amount of violence that they can, and even if it's a cartoon. But you know, he is a parrot. He's just like me. He sees something, he'll repeat it. He'll say it, he'll repeat the action. So, you know, anything that you can do to kind of reduce that for kids. And I think it's up to the adults and the parents to make sure that, you know, they're doing their jobs right as parents, to make sure their kids are raised right, and to know that the bad guys with the guns don't always win. I mean, I think that's always been the point of Looney Tunes as well in the classics, is that, so what if Elmer has a gun? It'll just blow up in his face, right? Another thing that makes me laugh the most is are the people out there that are so upset about a cartoon character not having a gun. I'm like, wait a second, are you really losing sleep over a cartoon, like an animated character, like not having a gun? Like, I don't know. I think it's a debate that will be a debate for the ages. But I just think that recently it was brought up because I honestly think they're running out of stories to tell. And I honestly feel like, you know, if a cartoon character not having a gun is your top priority, then I think you should really recheck and evaluate your to-do list.
Right. Absolutely. So I've got a great answer on that. And what I want to do is highlight we got a couple of questions that came in through the chat. And we got one from Jesse and one from David. Jesse asked, could you mention some other characters you're voicing in upcoming Looney Tunes cartoons? Are they different from ones that you're doing now?
Yeah, well, I talked about Charlie Dog, you know, there it is. I'll be doing Charlie Dog for a couple of shorts, and I hope you guys, you know, are really looking forward to it. The Weasel, from all the Foghorn Leghorn Barnyard Dog shorts, you know, he's always hungry, he's always looking to eat those little chickens. And of course the dodo. Yeah, I'm the real last dodo. Woo!
You know, like that thing that he does so well.
So I love that. And there's another question we have from David, and he asks, which character's voice was the most challenging to nail down?
I mean, it's still challenging to this day, and I think Bugs Bunny. I think that because he's such a beloved character and such a talk about character with like a lot of range. And, you know, maybe Daffy's easy for me because I'm paying less attention to Daffy and more about Bugs.
Like when I do Daffy, I didn't even know I could do Daffy until they asked me to audition for it. I never practiced Daffy in my entire life. And I was like, what does Daffy sound like? And I always equate him to Richard Dreyfuss with a lisp. You know, listen, I'm not going to be a hot meal for some shark, okay? What we're dealing with here is a perfect eating machine. All he does is eat and make little baby sharks, and that's all he does, okay?
You know, like Richard Dreyfuss with the list.
But, Bugs,
Yes.
Bugs Bunny is the most delicate character because he can get up there like, ooh, I'm dying, like that stuff. But usually, Doc, he's always the one that's very cool and, calm.
And there is a certain like attribute and skill that I have struggles with when it comes to being calm. So aside from the Brooklyn accent, aside from
The nasal quality.
and the fact that everyone knows that voice like the back of their hand. When I hear that voice, I just immediately want to eat carrots. I don't know what it is.
So I've got a couple others quickly. We've got one from Luis on Facebook. She asked who. Now Chuck never mentioned who his favorite was because he said they were all his babies. But do you have a favorite character?
I mean, again, Bugs is always going to be the number one answer for me. Daffy is the close second, and when they're together, it's an unbeatable force. Porky's great, Marvin's great, but Bugs, there's just something about that rabbit that I love so much, and it's just the design, the voice, just that he's always has the upper hand on. I see someone. Joel Shapiro says, "Can you actually eat carrots?" And I think it says Mel ... Mel Blanc was allergic, I think is what the legend is. But I think in my audition, the care that I took I actually ate carrots in my audition for Bugs. I wish I could play it for you. But I was actually eating carrots. They made me read that section of book passage that he reads when he's talking about gremlins.
It says here that gremlins are diabolical, automobile. They will disassemble your automobiles. Gremlins. What a bunch of horse eggs.
So speaking of Bugs, we have a question from Oscar Taylor, and he asks, his son Jacob is a big Bugs Bunny fan, and his birthday is next month. Could you give a happy birthday to Jacob Taylor in Bugs's voice?
What's up, Doc? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jacob. Happy birthday to you. And be sure to wash your hands, eat your carrots, and wear your mask when you go outside, Doc.
Well done, man. Well done.
Nice.
So,
go ahead, Ben.
well, I was gonna say, as we've got all that ridiculously awesome artwork, and I went through the gallery as we were going through yesterday when it went live. If everyone's checking that out, and then we got a couple more questions real quick. This one from Jonathan. He said, "Hi, Eric. You were discussing the wonderful songs Bug has had in the franchise, and I was curious. Do you get to lend your beautiful singing voice to Bugs in the new cartoons? I know you kind of alluded to the singing, I don't really sing thing, but is there a chance that you may make your operatic debut as Bugs Bunny?"
I mean, they haven't written an actual musical episode, but they do give me moments where I do sing. I've already sung as Tweety Bird, but not. I have done a few tunes as both Daffy and as Bugs. So yes, if you stay tuned. The best part about these Looney Tunes cartoons is people really enjoyed the first batch, and that was like almost done 2 years ago. So since then, I've kind of found my comfort zone with most of these characters. So as the episodes progress and get older, you will hear the performances become more at ease. I think we were talking about impressionists and being trapped by the voice that you're trying to imitate. You can lose, the feeling of a character by being so fixated on does it sound exactly like it versus am I embodying the character that Mel did. And if there's anything that I'm trying to bring back to any one of these classic characters is that energy, that unbridled, unhinged energy that Mel Blanc did and invented. as far as singing is concerned,
What did he do on the rainy night in Rio? Ringy-dink-dink. What did he do when there ain't no starry sky? Oh, where do they go when they can't go for a walk? Do they stay home and talk? Or do they sit and sigh? Oh, what do you know? A rabbit hater.
I'm pretty sure you have a standing ovation from the entire online crowd.
So
well, thank you.
things that we talked about before, and I think you have agreed to do this, is that for folks that find something in the great collection here, and there's actually been discussion on the side note. I don't know if you heard this, but well, that you will do a special dedication to somebody who finds something on our collection here, a doodle, since you have that mastery as well, which
Yeah.
I could doodle or do the things, but it doesn't really matter. I've got the blood in there,
Yeah.
the blood. I want to drop a blood on,
your DNA. Yes, I will happily draw anything you guys want. I love drawing Marvin the Martian. I love drawing Bugs Bunny. I will happily sign and draw anything. I think Scott is going to send some Chuck Jones official blank postcards, and I will draw. If I had a marker and a blank sheet of paper right now, I would draw for you just so you could see. But yeah, you'd be surprised. They actually look like the characters.
If you go to ericbauza.studio, which is, by the way, we claimed your name in a URL, so think about that for a second. We're now owners of Eric Bauza.
You're gonna hear from my lawyer. Let me say this, Buster. I have the best attorneys in Hollywood, although they don't let me ride on the Warner Brothers Shield. That's something that I gotta talk to them about.
So so go take a look at that. We've also you talked about Willie Ito, that we're going to approach him, and he doesn't know it yet, but he'll probably hear it because he's probably watching. That we're going to ask him to do some maybe drawings of favorite moments from your new cartoons, because obviously he's a legend, and that maybe you could co-sign them.
Oh my gosh.
It would be a great collaboration. So maybe there's some great clips. And I think maybe to sign off here, Scott, do we have a clip or two of the new Looney Tunes that we can share with everybody in case you haven't seen these 1,000 new minutes or in the process of 1,000 new minutes? And maybe that was an inspiration from, the man of 1,000 voices.
Yeah, 1,000 minutes. That's probably it.
Minutes. So Scott, why don't you go ahead and roll, because I'd like to hear and see all these for new.
That's Fred Tatasciore as Yosemite Sam, and boy, let me tell you, when you see Fred coming out of that booth after Yosemite Sam, it's like he spent like an hour in the sauna. He is working probably the hardest in the room when he does that voice, and God bless him, he's a sweetheart. It's really funny. I was working with Fred one time, and he's like, he turned to me and he asked me, he's like, hey, when you do these voices, are you like kind of holding your breath sometimes to get that power out? And I'm like, when I do Bugs subconsciously,
I'm actually not breathing, Doc. I'm holding my breath.
And I'm sure that's something that Mel didn't do because it's just so natural to him. But it's just these weird, things that you do as a performer and as an actor that you don't realize you're doing. So,
sometimes I've learned how to breathe in and out as Bugs, but, when I'm really into it, I'm holding my breath, Doc.
like I'm blowing into bagpipes or something.
Well, I tell you, I remember June Foray, you were talking about your time with her. She used to talk about different characters, she'd have to actually move her body into a certain place to get that feeling so that she knew exactly what it was. And you talked about that you're not doing the voice of the character, you're becoming the character, and then it's coming out. And that's what the acting is all about. I think that's what June used to talk about. It's what Mel used to talk about, that during the moment, it wasn't doing a character, it was being the character. And I think
It was embodying the actual character that you're trying to, especially when there's a story and you have to pay attention about that, like where the character starts, in the middle, and in the end. That's everything that you have to be aware of as a storyteller from a voice actor's point of view.
Well, this is a real treat. I've taken you 13 minutes over, and I was supposed to keep on time, but I just couldn't cut it off when there was so much to talk about and so much to. And we'll do this again.
Absolutely, I would love to come back and still talk more about these shorts as they come out. Like maybe when the second batch comes out, we can have like a revisit and talk more about who knows what other techniques were involved. Like we're not even considering what room or what sound stage they were recording at. I don't even think they had sound booths back then. I honestly think they had the sound stage and what kind of microphones, like digital versus like just the old ribbon mics that they had. Because there's a certain quality to the voice recording and like analog versus digital that may come into play. When it comes to recreating these voices. Maybe I'm not wearing enough layers of wool suits that they were wearing back then, or smoking indoors or drinking scotch during the day. How healthy they were back then.
I thought okay during COVID that it's fine to do that, to drink during the day. I thought that was part of the whole thing.
Absolutely. I'm about to go burn my garbage in the backyard. Another thing that Los Angeles used to do is burn their garbage back in the day. A lot of fun stuff.
Spending time with us today, and for everybody who's been here during the event and all those people on Facebook, certainly appreciate you all coming to join us, and look forward to, I don't know if it's next Thursday or the following Thursday that we're going to be back with another Creative Side chat, but it was a pleasure. Thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you, and that's all, folks. Porky's gonna get so angry when he finds out you did that. That's his line.
That's awesome. All right. Take care.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right. I'm going to sign off. I don't know where everybody else is going. Take care. Bye-bye.